Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is United vs. Everybody, and we are back today with a bit of a special edition scouting report. You guys know every now and then I do a deep dive, closer look scouting report special on players that we're linked to, players that we're interested in. We did one on Sver Nipan. We did a couple on like Shesko and Ollie Watkins and things over the summer. Victor Gyökeres as well. We do those quite a bit. You guys know it's all about the scouting reports here on the channel, but today we have to talk about one position in particular and one player in particular, because United, we've got a bit of a problem in midfield. I don't know if you guys noticed. For many United fans, myself included, it was a priority position to be strengthened in the summer, and we ultimately did not sign a center midfield at all. There was a late push for Carlos Baleba, but Brighton pretty much just dismissed that out of hand. You guys remember, they weren't interested, didn't matter, doesn't matter at all. And then reportedly, we made another late push for another midfielder with Premier League experience, English midfielder, mentality, physicality, energy, fight, leadership, whatever you want to call it. All the qualities that we've been crying out for. United made a late push for one of those midfielders, a loan move. And I'm, of course, talking about Conor Gallagher. The links have resurfaced as well as we draw closer to the January transfer window, and United are still on the hunt for center midfielder. Now, I know a lot of you are a bit split on Conor Gallagher. Not everybody is as big of a fan, and I am here for all of it. Everyone's got an opinion. It is what it is. But today I want to take a closer look at Gallagher, his current situation at Atletico Madrid, what he could bring to United, and then, let you guys kind of decide, which is what we do with some of these scouting reports. You guys decide, do you think he ticks enough boxes? Do you think he improves us? Whether or not you take him. So we're going to do that today, you guys. Let's get stuck in. Make sure you're liking the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you like these videos, if you like this channel, if you want to support it even further, consider the memberships. That's more than just badges and emojis. It does give you access to a lot of kind of say-so in what we do in the channel, from suggestions to scouting reports, suggestions for episodes of What If, suggestions for questions from a boot. There is a WhatsApp group now for Starting 11 and Legends members. And if you're not able to commit on a monthly basis, not a problem. There's also United vs. Everybody store if you want to get some one-of-a-kind gear that doesn't go towards the Glazers or Ineos and does help the channel even further. Go check out the United vs. Everybody store. Links are in the description, you guys. So let's get back to Conor Gallagher. When most of us kind of first took notice of Conor Gallagher, at least for me anyway, during his loan spell at Crystal Palace during the 21-22 season, he was immense for Palace. He was scoring goals, he was providing assists, and at one point he had the most goal involvements for any player under 21. And it was criminal as well, I thought, that he could not play against Chelsea in that FA Cup final that year, something that even Thomas Tuchel later on apologized for, if you guys remember. I think I don't necessarily like that rule. I understand it to a certain extent. It is what it is, but I just don't like that rule. I mean, if you're going to let a player go on loan, then clearly that player should be allowed to play against you. That's how I think. But it is what it is. Still, Conor Gallagher did enough that season on loan to be named Crystal Palace's Player of the Year. And then it was back to Chelsea, and literally, I shit you not, literally like 4 different managers over the next few years at Chelsea. And even though Gallagher was a bit of even a mercurial player for Chelsea fans, right? Not even every Chelsea fan really rated him. He scored their goal this season in 22-23. He was basically their full-time captain in 23-24 because Reece James and Ben Chilwell were always injured. So he basically, because he's just a natural leader, he's got that drive. That's the role that he was put into. Then fast forward to 24-25, Enzo Maresca arrives and basically just doesn't have space for Gallagher in his plans. He doesn't necessarily see him as a player. He's got Caicedo, he's got Enzo. What is what it is. It happens. Romeo Lavia is still down there. Chukwuemeka still doing. He's just doing what he needs to do. Chelsea started talking to Atletico Madrid last summer about a transfer, and that was even after a stellar 23-24 season. Like I said, captain in absence of Reece James and Chilwell, 7 goals, 9 assists. I always thought he was better than that. I always thought Conor Gallagher. It's kind of like the way people look at McTominay at United. I thought he was better than, but it didn't fit the system. I get it. It happens. And amid a very spendy Todd Boehly spending spree, right, Conor Gallagher, represented a big chunk of profit, being an academy product from Chelsea. I think they got like 34 million pounds for him, when really that's well over 100, really, when you stretch that out and apply it to the fact that new signings, have to pay like a third of what they cost. So big chunk of change for him, kind of like what we saw from McTominay, Greenwood, Elanga, all that stuff from United's point. But hasn't been bunnies and flowers for Gallagher since joining Diego Simeone's squad in Spain. Just 4 starts in all competitions so far this season, 27 starts in all competitions last season. I don't count the Club World Cup because nobody counts the club. Really, honestly, how many people in the recent history since the Club World Cup's recent kind of trashness, how many players listed as one of their trophies? Champions League. Oh man, I got the Club World Cup. Oh yeah, and then I got a couple of Premier Leagues. It's not a thing. Let's just stop trying to make it a thing, please. But then when you look closer, you'll see that actually when he gets minutes, Conor Gallagher delivers. 47 appearances last season and 4 goals from 6 assists. It's not bad. It's not bad. Gallagher is a leader. He works hard. He can score goals. He can create chances. He puts in a defensive shift. He can carry the ball in midfield as well. I mean, what's not to like? Am I right? He ticks a lot of boxes. But why does it seem like he's out of favor? Why are the exit rumors just steadily increasing? And why are many United fans not too excited about the prospect of seeing Conor Gallagher in a United shirt? As an energetic, hardworking box-to-box number 8, Conor Gallagher is known for having an engine. He's known for haranguing the opposition, not giving them a moment to breathe on the ball. Pretty much covers every blade of grass as he presses, as he gets around the pitch, as he wants to get involved. Something Ruben Amorim does like. He can tackle, can make interceptions, he can carry the ball, like I said. He can make those really late runs in the box, and he's got an eye for goal. And like I said, let's take a look at these heat maps for last season. We've got heat maps here for the Champions League and for La Liga. As you can see, on the left side at 8, he gets involved. He wants to pitch in on the wide positions. He wants to pitch in both halves. He's not afraid to get around the pitch and get touches on the ball. Positionally, looks like he's pretty disciplined, and he's got that energy. It's kind of like when you see a center back heat map that goes up until halfway, all the way back to their box. That shows that they can get around the pitch. Compare that to Hillman and Merida in Amorim's 23-24 season and at Sporting, and you'll see that they're very, very similar. A lot of touches inside both halves, getting into wide areas often than not, and especially in the opposition half, and then, obviously staying deep. So it's very, very similar heat maps. If Conor Gallagher did as many minutes as these two, it'd probably look even more similar. And then when you look at his numbers, ticks a lot of boxes, right? We've got really good interceptions numbers, for the last year, top 4%. That's amazing. He's above average for tackles per 90, blocks for 90. He gets into good positions, again, those progressive passes. But again, look at these take-ons, look at these carries. Top 20% when it comes to just carrying the ball. His pass completion is good. He doesn't make a lot of progressive passes. But again, he's going to be that player who's going to play next to like a Bruno. He's going to be a player who's going to play next to potentially like an Adam Wharton or an Angelo Stiller. Let the playmaker do the playmaking. He's the guy who is going to be your Elliot Anderson alternative, your João Gomez, your Carlos Baleba alternative. I'm going to win the ball. I'm going to harangue the opposition. I'm going to carry the ball up the pitch. And that's what Conor Gallagher does. And he does it well. You can see the numbers are very, very good. But there are some boxes, though, that Conor Gallagher doesn't tick. Perhaps boxes that he fails to tick that are a big indicator of why he's not playing enough in Spain. Very different league. What you won't get, again, is that deep-lying playmaker who can make those line-breaking passes from within his own half. He's not going to be doing the tiki-taka. He's not going to be, just silky on the ball. It's just not his game. And it's not to say he's a bad player. Everybody's different. And under pressure, even, Conor Gallagher can sometimes be guilty of a heavy touch or sloppy pass, which is something you will see now and then from the players who are known for their power and their energy and their aggression. They do kind of put a little more into those things. I mean, it does happen. But I think we can agree that Conor Gallagher would be, again, the aggressive partner in Amorim's pivot, like a combination. He sort of looks, when I watch him play, he's sort of like a combination, I think, of like Mason Mount and Manuel Ugarte in that regard. But how does he stack up to rumored United targets who fit the bill. I'm talking about Elliot Anderson and Carlos Baleba. So if you look at Elliot Anderson's numbers here, very, very similar numbers. He's got a little bit more aerial duels as well, and then he's got a little bit more progressive passes. But you can see that his pass completion is not as good. So he's trying to make prep passes, but he's not completing as many of them as Conor Gallagher does, even though Conor Gallagher will pass more side to side. But again, very similar in terms of ball progression, very similar for the progressive passing numbers as well in terms of passes received. Where Elliot Anderson, you see, he wins the ball more in tackles, much fewer in terms of interceptions. So Anderson, again, is that ball winner, win the aerial duel, win the ball, get around the pitch. So again, he's not winning as many aerial duels or creating as many clear-cut chances as Anderson, but his interceptions, Gallagher, and his pass completion are much better. Perhaps that hints at a better reading of the game overall than Elliot Anderson. And if you look at this breakdown here, Conor Gallagher is in red, Elliot Anderson is in blue. The pass completion, again, higher. The dribblers tackled is actually higher for Conor Gallagher. The goals higher for Conor Gallagher. Where you're going to see, again, the physicality of Elliot Anderson. Now, Elliot Anderson also, interestingly enough, has a lot more shot-creating actions per 90 as well, which is interesting. So similar in some areas, but you can see there's a stark difference to that. I think Anderson is a little bit more specialist than that ball winning, and then Conor Gallagher is a little bit more of an all-arounder. What about Carlos Baleba? You can clearly see Carlos Baleba is an all-out ball winner. He's going to win the ball. He's going to carry it up the pitch a little bit. So that's what he does. Well above average for tackles, interceptions, blocks, clearances, aerial duels. He is the Manuel Ugarte, probably Manuel Ugarte with a little bit more press resistance and a little bit more ability to build that ball out from deeper areas, from within his own half a little bit, beat that initial press. Baleba has shown now and then that he has it in him to beat the press and drive the ball from deep within his own half. But you can clearly see, again, he's more of an Ugarte type. Patrols his own half, win the ball, find a teammate. You can see compared to Conor Gallagher, again, it's those aerial duels, the tackles, the blocks, the clearances, the in your own third kind of stuff. That's where Baleba is really going to excel. But when it comes to just ball progression, like having a couple more strings to your bow, Baleba does pale in comparison to Conor Gallagher. Now, Baleba's young, and I don't have a problem with him being a defensive outlet. But in this system, at this point, I don't know if that is enough, quite frankly. And then what you're also going to see the difference, one major difference that you're going to see from Gallagher when it compared to Baleba and Anderson is going to be price tag. Now, reports claim that he could be available for like $35 million in January, which less than half of probably what you're going to have to pay for Elliot Anderson, and probably roughly a third-ish of what you might have to pay for Carlos Baleba, unless his form continues to be shit. And you can bet that Conor Gallagher would probably be the most gettable of the three in January, unless Anderson forces a move or Baleba just a shit. Mostly because Atletico were agreeable to a move. They just didn't want a loan. If they were going to let him go, it was going to be money because they wanted the full sale so they can make probably another purchase. That was the only thing. We didn't want to pay the money for him. We wanted the loan. It seems like we had our eye on Baleba, someone more expensive, and then we were willing to do the loan as maybe a bit of a stopgap in town, which, again, raises an interesting point. Do we maybe bring in him as a stopgap? I don't know. You guys let me know. But transfer windows really are ultimately about strengthening the squad. And the question here is, does Conor Gallagher strengthen Manchester United's squad? Is he better in that role than the Casemiro, who's maybe got a little more progressive passing, or Ugarte or Kobbie? He's definitely more physical, more mobile than Kobbie. He's definitely more mobile than Casemiro. He's better on the ball than Ugarte. Kobbie's chance creation numbers are better, but his take-ons are only slightly better. So again, that's where Kobbie's got him beat so far. Casemiro's tackles, aerial duels, and chance creation are better, similar to Anderson, but Gallagher's definitely got him beat when it comes to ability to carry the ball. And like Casemiro, Ugarte's tackles and aerial numbers are better than Gallagher's. But again, because he's more of a ball winner, Ugarte's progression stats are well below Gallagher's as well. So he's better than them in carrying the ball, getting around the pitch, not better when it comes to winning the area ball or maybe playing those progressive passes. It's just not Gallagher's game, and that's fine. You don't have to be all things to everything, right? It just is what it is. I think what you can't deny, though, is Conor Gallagher's mentality again, his work rate, his physicality. I think he'd bring back a lot of that passion, perhaps, that we lost when Scott McTominay left. I think that's something that we've been missing. Now, I like the fight that I've seen from United so far this season in some cases, especially against Liverpool, for instance, but I think we really need more of that. But the question again is Conor Gallagher an improvement on what we have, or would we be spending 35 million on a squad player, kind of like what we did with Mason Mount? I'd hate to spend what finite amount of money we have if that's the case. Maybe if Kobbie were to push for a loan move away on January in a bid to get some World Cup minutes, we could talk about maybe looking at Conor Gallagher, because I do think right now he's probably going to offer more than Kobbie. But all things being equal, I'd still probably opt to just wait until it's possible to get Elliot Anderson and then go in the summer for like Stiller or Wharton. I'd prefer a combination of like Anderson, Stiller, Anderson, Wharton, probably my top pick. I would hate to spend a little money and then miss out on the best choices we could get. Still, that's not to say that Conor Gallagher is bad. I think Conor Gallagher is a very good player. I think he's an exceptional midfielder. I think he suits the profile of player that Ineos have been targeting when it comes to that mentality, that resilience, that leadership, that fight. I think he ticks all those boxes. But it's not up to me. That's just my opinion. I want to know yours. Let me know in the comments, yay or nay. Do you think that he could work? Do you think he's an improvement? Would you rather just try to push in January and spend a little bit more on a top target? You guys let me know. I want to know your thoughts. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe as well. Check those memberships. Check the UVE store as well for one-of-a-kind gear. And then if you consider it, take a couple moments, go back and hype a couple of the past streams. It is the best way to help the channel grow these days. So thank you guys for stopping by. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on Conor Gallagher. Thank you for listening to mine. I will see you guys later on. Peace.